Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
I'm so low.
Did you see who Gary Miracle was hanging out with at the Bucs game?
Yep. C.D. Lamb's dad, receiver for the Cowboys, C.D. Lamb. He was sitting, his dad was sitting behind him. And I guess his dad went wild when C.D. caught a pass. And Gary's like, oh, is that your favorite player? And it's like, yeah, it's my son. And Gary said he didn't believe him. So Gary, like, the guy showed him his license. And he's like, oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
So C.D. Lamb's dad and his younger brother were sitting there by Gary.
So Gary's sitting there and he challenges, prove it that you're C.D. Lamb's son now in front of 70,000 people. Did you hear what happened to him, Gary?
Yeah, I saw it on
Somebody
Facebook.
stole his backpack?
Or he lost his backpack with everything in it. And then he woke up this morning. He's worried to death because he doesn't have it because his life's in there. I think he had his eating hand in there.
Wow.
And then this morning he woke up to an email that was sent through his website, and they found his ID. They Googled his name. They realized, oh, this guy's probably the same guy sitting there because they found the prosthetic fork in his bag, and he's driving over to Tampa right now to go pick it up from him.
So all of the stuff is back, or just some of the?
Looks like everything was in there.
So somebody stole it from him.
Either he stole it or it fell off his chair or something. I can't see somebody stealing something off of the back of a handicap.
Yeah,
That would be past anybody.
Yeah, you're right.
Bro.
In today's world.
That would be low.
So, but yeah, that was a great game to go to.
Oh, man.
The Cowboys finally woke up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know if Brady's going to. What do you think he's going to do? You think he'll play another season? I mean, I think he almost has to, right? I
Well,
mean,
he's
you divorce your
technically
wife.
right now, he is a free agent.
He looked like he
Right.
didn't want to be there that fourth quarter. He looked a little deflated to me.
But
Come on.
I think somebody will pick him up.
Yeah, somebody will.
Like, I can see like in New Orleans or somebody.
Yeah, I was looking at all the prognosticators and their picks for where he's going to go. It seems like the common themes are the Raiders staying with the Bucs, and actually someone had a Dolphins scenario because you just don't
It
know
actually would make sense actually.
Yeah,
I mean, because
with
that's what they're
Tua's-
lacking right now.
with Tua's brain.
And didn't
he's
he
also-
go there? Didn't he interview with them before he went to Tampa?
I don't remember.
I thought that was one of the teams that he was looking at
I don't remember.
a couple of years ago.
I don't know.
Four guys eating wings, talking about football. We starting it out just right.
Shouldn't
Absolutely.
church be like football games? Oh, man, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
What's that?
How so?
Just throw
you
one
know.
Hail Mary at the end and be done.
No. All of us out in the parking lot
churches do that.
tailgating,
Tailgating before
the
church.
service,
Yeah.
and then the praise band comes out and they go through a big piece of paper. Hey,
Dude, this is good.
if
So
the pastor,
All right, Joel.
oh crap! If the pastor does a great job, you pour a thing of Gatorade on him.
Hey, good job,
Yeah,
Mark.
man. I like it.
That's the kind of church I want to go to.
Then
So
you
what
see,
happens if he doesn't do a good job? You're gonna throw like rotten apples at him.
Cancel his contract. Fire him mid-year.
Dude, we should do that Super Bowl Sunday. We should tailgate out front before the service.
let's do, man.
That'd be
That'd be
great.
great. And then you guys come through that paper
Yeah,
band.
all right, come running through.
It'd be cool. Let's still get out front, do a live podcast out there,
that's
and
hilarious.
Trey, you know a guy. Get on that.
I know a guy. We'll get on that for sure.
I like it.
NFL playoffs, favorite time of the year, football season coming on. You know, we had to take off last week because a couple of us had some pretty major health issues, and there was a funeral and all these other things happening. But something pretty cool happened last week, and we're a week and a half getting past commentating on it. But I know it was on our heart to talk about it. On that Monday Night Football game, Bills Bengals, Hamlin goes down, and the world seems like it stopped. I was on Facebook scroll, and people are just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And the Twitter starts erupting as this guy laid there and they're doing CPR on DeMar's chest. And all of a sudden, you just saw the world use the word pray, especially on national television, ESPN, the mothership, whose mothership is
that you see in Disney. Yeah.
Disney and all of these things that, we're not going to get political, but we might a little bit. But there's just so many things that are bombarding us from a perspective of nothing biblical and no prayer. And it never was all right to take a knee to pray. It was always all right to take a knee to protest. And we can go on and on. And all of a sudden, you look, there's 70,000 people on their knees. You got 40 to 50 coaches or 100 staff members on the field. You see these brilliant men that God created that are hovering over Damar, trying to restart his heart. It's got to be a traumatic thing for the players to see, because these guys are top-notch, freak, physical specimens. They're the top 0.5% of physicality probably in the world, except for the kicker. And
I don't even like his little shoes.
I know, right? He's kind of silly.
Ballet.
But all of a sudden, you're seeing, you're praying, you're thinking about his mom, and I was reliving in my life his life as a kid, and his mom taking him to sports games, and she's watching this all unfold, and it just it's just breaking your heart. You can tell this is an incident that he ain't going to be carted off the field. They're going to tape him up. He's going to get back in the game.
Right.
It was different. And then you saw, our prayers are with him. Our prayers are with him. We need to pray for him. We need to pray for him. 70,000 people praying. All of a sudden, Monday Night Football typically has 20 or so million viewers every Monday night. And I read the next day that the viewership just skyrocketed after his word started getting out, people trying to tune in to see what happened. So all of a sudden, we're all turning to God. Mm-hmm. And it took an act, a tragedy or whatever, something bad happening for it to happen, and how refreshing it was. The ESPN commentator the next day, just stopping. I'm not sure this is the right thing to do, but I just really feel like I got to pray. And he prays to God, national TV, live.
Which, talk about faith and whatnot. In today's world, just mentioning God in the classroom can get a teacher fired.
Right.
You know what I mean? And these guys, commentators now, they have to say what they're supposed to say, otherwise they'll get canceled. And for him to, the courage he had to actually pray on national TV. Sometimes I don't even like getting up in front of a men's group and praying. More or less,
right?
20 million people, but which it shouldn't matter if it's one or a million. But at the end of the day, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And here's, I just pulled this up because I was just kind of curious, if it had anything on the odds, but. I think you were talking about it the other day. Is the cardiac cycle is about a minute long.
Right.
It's only 5 to 10 milliseconds during that 1 minute long cardiac cycle is the time is the exact time it would take, or the amount of time it would have to happen that impact happens on the heart. So you think about it, 5 to 10 milliseconds. I can't even say it's that quick. It's already over.
Yeah. Totally freak. And I was reading about what there's only 30 cases of that were reported around the country the
kids
whole
in baseball,
year,
right?
and it really affects youth baseball players as they take a ball to the chest. They can't get their glove down, the ball bounces up, hits them in the chest just right, and they go down.
Well, and youth they're so small. You're not talking about an NFL football player who's got a chest that's fully developed with muscles and pads and
Yeah, and then I was reading more about it. Is I was getting texts were kind of locker room type text. It was really cool. I'm not going to divulge sources, but they're telling me what's going on before the announcers announced it and before it went over the airwaves and stuff. And but they were talking about this occurrence, commotio cordis. I think if I just said it right. And
didn't he play at Alabama?
He played at Pitt.
Commotio cordis.
Oh, no, shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
It sounds like an Alabama guy. I don't know.
He's crusty. We're doing an early morning recording today, guys, and he's crusty.
Dude, this is the first time I've laughed in a while.
He needs to laugh.
That's awesome.
But the research on it, the doctor that I was listening to said, if you don't perform CPR within the first minute or so, the chances of survival are 1%. Mm-hmm. That's how severe this can be. And what do you know? There's a well-trained assistant trainer that God put him out there, and he started. Mm-hmm. And now that guy is in Buffalo cheering on his team, and it's just an inspiration to see Why does it take something like a 9/11 or something? The whole sports world went from focusing on the results of a game to a man and God helping him.
Because Jesus is offensive.
And Jesus is offensive. Like you just said, I can't mention God's name in school, but damn it, they can have somebody come up and tell my kid that he can be transgender when he's 7. Right?
It's just pure
That's
evil,
not
Trey.
offensive, right?
It's just pure evil. Good example. I just read an article. Guys in the Mall of America in Minnesota wearing a Jesus Saves T-shirt, and the Paul Bart, the mall cop, comes up and says, "You can't wear that. It's offensive. You're I don't know what the term was," and he's like, "You got to take that off. If you want to stay here, you got to take that off."
Because if not, you're going to create violence here somehow. Or it's going to rub you wrong.
My word, what is going on?
I know.
No, I mean, I was at Disney the other day, and I saw a bunch of people walking around with I know how you feel about Disney. Igor's back; he'll get it fixed. But but I saw people walking around with like the pentagrams and stuff at Disney, like on their shirts, like just out in the open, just Satanistic symbols everywhere. And I was like, man, this is like, how is that acceptable? I mean,
Well, it's interesting when something major like that happens, who people turn to. Like, you don't see Satanists going, "Hey, let's all sacrifice a goat for Damar." People
pray
turn
for
to
them.
God. It's like there's something hardwired in our DNA that we know there's a higher power. There's somebody that we need to turn to when things are really bad. And so all the woke crap, all the stuff that people are promoting, nobody's talking about that because they know that's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Because we're made up of body, soul, and spirit. And that's what Christ put in us. That's what God put in us. In Jeremiah, "Before you were, I knew you."
Yeah.
And so you're either going to follow the sheep or you're going to follow the goats, whichever route you're going to take.
Right.
Who are we choosing to follow? What spirit in us is choosing to follow Christ?
Right.
And unless you tell people, or unless they know, unless they're ready to realize that they need a Savior, and how many people did that night went, "Wow, man, tomorrow could be my last day."
Yeah. That's true. Go ahead.
well, and it's what you're coming up on a really cool point, because a lot of people don't realize like why Christians believe there's a trinomial God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? But what he's taught when in the beginning, the fourth word of the Bible is "we," like together. So they're already talking about there being more than one layer to God, right? However you want to look at it, and but that's why we as humans immediately can identify with God, because we were made in His image, right? Well, His image is the Father, who's the head of God, right? The mind, if you will. You got the Spirit, the soul, which we all have indwelled in us, and then Jesus Christ, who is the physical manifestation of God on earth, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's if you look at like people over the years, even the people that didn't have the Bible, right? The Bible's not that old, really. Like if you think about it, as far as the book goes, compared to mankind. But how did they know who God was? It was because they could feel God. They knew what God was inside of them. And whenever you're in doubt, people just are like, "Well, I'll pray for you." They're people, "Well, who are you praying to?" And it's just this God that they know exists because it's part of them, right?
Yeah.
It's just a really interesting thing that you're saying here. Like, it's true. Like, there is 3 parts of God which we identify with because we're in His image, right?
Right. So it's like we have to choose to suppress that. People are doing it. They don't want to acknowledge there's a God.
Right.
But when 9/11 happens, when somebody has a heart attack on the field, it's like, I'd better appeal to something that deep inside I know is up there.
I heard, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want any backlash. Like, he might be listening, but there's a famous sports commentator that I 99.9% sure he's very openly agnostic. Okay, but I actually heard him mention the word pray, and I thought, okay, for someone that's an agnostic mentioning that, I'm going, wow. And I was thinking about, and I can't remember the reporter's name that actually prayed, and he just said, "I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do, but I just feel it in my heart." I'm wondering what the guys in the sound booth are, and they have an ear to like the upper executives, and I'm wondering if they're hearing, "Oh my gosh, he's doing it. He's doing it. Okay. Or do we cut? Do we go to commercial? What happens?" Well, guess what? It went all the way through, and I just, it was just so refreshing just to think how many seeds were planted. with, you know.
Well, what about his foundation? I mean, it was supposed to. It was like a $5,000 goal or something small,
and then went over
$7.4 million.
Yeah,
as of what the New York Post
the toy drive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was cool. That was a GoFundMe he started about a month ago, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yep.
Well, and then also the heart awareness. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, American Red Cross and all these people are using this now to promote heart health and
Right.
things like that, which, I mean, we know is close to near and dear to all of our hearts, right?
Big time.
So, I mean, it's just the amount of people that were touched at this event, not
Right.
just, you know, from something that was so, I mean, that's the irony, right? Like 5 to 10 milliseconds,
Right.
it had to have happened.
It had to happen.
Like, you can't, I mean, that's such a freak small
Right.
amount of time. Like, the odds of that are so small
Yeah.
that it had to be God. And you're like, well, how does God let bad things happen?
Right.
Well, he let that bad thing happen, but he's also using
Yeah.
it to touch how many millions of people today.
You know, I was texting with someone that just kind of had a link into the locker room and just talking about the mood amongst the players, because you think you are so physically dominant. You know, this guy's 24 years old. He's a physical specimen. You know. And these guys are trained for battle. I don't like to call it battle. They're playing a game.
That's battle. I mean,
But it is a battle. You know for sure. What you're putting your body through, and then you have to be at the peak of your health to do what they do.
Oh, yeah.
But for them to see, like, that ain't a broken leg. That ain't healing.
Right.
He might be breathing, and you could see it on the guys' faces on the field. And from what I hear inside, it was just dead quiet. Lots of prayer. If you know, to witness that is traumatic to you too. So, you know, praying for those guys that they can get past it and move forward. And it's just too. It was just one of the most powerful moments in sports. I don't remember. Do you remember? I don't remember watching a game. I know it's been a few sports where someone has died on the field of play, but I've never physically been watching it. The closest I came to it was Darryl Stingley in 1978. New England Patriots wide receiver, Tatum for the Raiders. They collided, and Stingley went down. Boom, he's paralyzed for life. And I remember watching that and just holding my breath. I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever been gripped looking at something like this, and the whole world, sports world anyway, and then the social media world just boom went still. It got quiet, and then God came out. And why does it take stuff like that? Why does it take 9/11? Why does it take? I wasn't around during Pearl Harbor, but from what I hear, there was this reawakening after Pearl Harbor in our country of people raising the Lord up. Why does it take that? Why doesn't this happen like the next day? You know, people, the national media says, I think we all need to have prayer worldwide right now, and let's, whatever it is.
But don't you think everybody thinks deep down about their eternity? Don't you think that crosses their mind, whether you're an atheist or not?
Well,
It
going
has
through
to.
that, yeah, it has
It has
to.
to.
It's like, whoa.
This could be my last day. You know, it's like, okay. And then you start thinking about it, but then on a mass scale like that, when something like that happens, and then it's over, and you're like, okay, didn't happen to me, so I can go on with my shitty life and
Right.
keep doing the same shit I've been doing.
Just
and
keep doing the same.
you know, I'm still going to be an atheist. But just for a second there, I thought about my eternity instead of flipping it around and going, guys, this is a relationship. This is a relationship with the God who loves us so much that he gave his only begotten Son, period.
Yeah.
And so it's not about do's and don'ts. It's not about being on that constant hamster wheel that we've talked about. It's about a relationship. We have a relationship. I love you guys. I enjoy seeing you. I love talking to you. Even with my stupid jokes, making you laugh. And it's like everything that I am, God has put in me because of before I was, he knew me. So I think about I think people think about their eternity on a regular basis.
Man.
I mean, think about the story of, was it Elijah and the widow, right, that was going to starve to death? I mean, literally. I mean, talk about needing God in the moment. She's sitting there, she's getting ready to take the last of her bread to her son. They were going to lay in bed together and just die. Like, that was their plan.
Or the last bit of oil and
Yeah,
flour.
the oil and
That's
flour.
Right, that's
yeah.
right.
And, I mean, that's how, when a family
But he
came-
asked her to make cakes for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, man.
Wait, what is that?
But she trusted in the Lord, and the Lord provided, right? And they survived the famine. I mean, we don't have famine today like we had then, or at least not in our country. I mean, we're the most spoiled, entitled country in the world.
Even the poorest of the poor in the United States are richer than anybody in any other third world country.
Absolutely. I mean, you go to a third world country and go see those people. I mean, you've been.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just destitute.
So what's the message of
sure
Jesus? Are we giving them the American Jesus, or are we giving them the Jesus of the Bible? And I was reading Mark 11:22 a day or so ago, and it's, if you say to this mountain, be removed and cast in the sea, and not doubt in your heart that these things shall come to pass, you shall have what you say. Okay, but that's God's will. That's not, man, I'm gonna say I want a Ferrari, or I want, I need this job that pays me, another $100,000 a year. It's like, are we giving them the American version of Jesus, or are we giving the Jesus of the Bible that is truth and simple, and that's what they need first? Their mountain may be, man, I need a deer to walk past my path today, or, whatever it is. I would like to have a bag of rice.
I want to walk by and find a tree that has an apple on it, or something like that.
And
yeah.
so,
Or how about just, I want water that won't kill me?
Right.
Exactly.
Think about those people. I mean, that's
Yeah.
40. You can go 40 days without food or
Yeah.
longer, but you can only go 3 days without water.
Yeah. Fascinating. And it was just so, to me, it was inspiring, and to me, it was one of those moments where, unfortunately, we needed a kick in the ass. And why does it take a kick in the ass for us to reach up to our Father and just talk to Him? Not even ask anything, just help me make sense of this. Not ask for stuff. I mean, we were all praying for Him to get through it, for His family, for the players, and actually have a genuine conversation with who allows us to take a breath.
I know. All I can say is I Googled, because I was just curious if DeMar was a Christian. I don't
He
know
is.
very well. It seems like he is.
Yeah.
But if you look in here, just, I mean, the amount of the New York Times prayers for DeMar Hamilton, just
New York Times.
New York Times,
Wow.
American
Hamlin.
Magazine, Sports Spectrum. I mean, Sports Spectrum, whatever that is, has never put anything. But now it's talking about how Josh Allen's having a spiritual awakening.
Here you go.
I mean, you look at, just, you can go down
Isn't it
the
cool
list.
that kind of stuff's, I mean, it was
Wall
a bad
Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. Isn't it cool that that's on the head, that's in the, you can actually find articles on that, and it's not what we've been bombarded with by the media for,
Yeah.
with this woke, this agenda that's happening.
God's will be done. And that's everything that happens, whether it's, bad or good or whatever. There's consequences for that, but God's will be done. And God wins, period. God wins. I see the end of the book. I know what happens.
Yes.
So why do we fight? Was it Jesus or was it Paul? No, Jesus telling Paul, why do you fight against the goads? Why are you fighting against this? It's so simple, Paul, and it's a simple message for all of us. And I've recently, realized that I'm in a battle. We're in a battle.
It's been evident the past few weeks.
And it's just pure evil, the stuff that I see and read, and it's like, but God wins. If you will give yourself over to Him totally and let Him take control of your life and rest and just realize that, and I've said this before, His yoke is easy and His burden is light.
Coming out of this, obviously, he's on the road to recovery. I'm not sure if they've come up with what his future is like as a professional athlete anymore.
And actually saying he's going to make a full recovery.
So
he could actually
that's-
see time back on the field. The article I was just reading.
Can you imagine his first game when he runs through that tunnel in Buffalo next
Boy.
year? Assuming he doesn't get in for the playoffs, which we're in the middle of right now.
Right.
But can you imagine the celebration as he comes back out, and then as he, I'm sure he's going to give the glory where it comes, and maybe he asked, we need to pray like this. If it was me that was a conduit to get you guys to turn to get us as a community to turn and focus on who we are and what Christianity means and who God truly is. Imagine if we just did this out of our natural way all the time.
This is an earthly prize, but the prize that we get to share in is to spend eternity with our Father and with Jesus in heaven. And I want that message to come back up.
Yeah.
I want him to talk about it again and say, look, yeah, I almost got taken out, but I'm going to use it for the glory of God.
And, I almost got taken out, but you know what? God said I still needed to be here for a reason. Right. So now we're about to see that reason and how God manifests himself through DeMar recovering and moving forward. And I'm just excited to see the impact that it could have. I mean, you'll see it as soon as they start delivering toys to underprivileged kids, man. I mean,
dude, you know, a toy's $7 million, 7.8 or whatever.
It's a lot of Buzz Lightyears, baby.
Yeah.
I think it's I believe we're in the end times. So if we're not in the end, we're really dang close. I mean, I just can't see it going, at this speed in this way for that much
longer. The escalation of the evil.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Sodom and Gomorrah and all the stories of the Bible, and if you don't believe in that, and you're listening in, just go look through history, and what you'll see is they line up. Like, the historians can't prove those things wrong. In fact, every time they go to look to prove them wrong, they prove them right, which is very interesting as well.
Yeah.
But I just think we are, and I think God has taken us, he does things like this, and we were just talking about it, but I don't even know if we were recording it, about how we're just happy that we can touch one or two people. We get one or two people a week. Our viewership just goes up a couple at a time. It's not, we don't get these big spikes of 2,000 in a week or anything like that. Not yet. Share, like, and post.
Share, like, and post, guys, if you're listening in.
So if you're touching 20 million that day, and then it's been talked about now for weeks at this point, it's going to continue to be talked about in the off season. We're going to hear them talk about how regulation will change and this and that and blah, 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 right? How many people will convert now because of the single event?
Hopefully a lot.
Hopefully a lot.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
That's what I'm saying. I think just another way God, you talk about miracles, like talking about mass conversion. We're talking about beach bash, where we, let's get a couple hundred people and baptize them, right?
Yeah.
God's like, I'll do 20 million.
Boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and props to DeMar, a 24-year-old young man being openly Christian in the NFL, because that's not the culture for the NFL or for our society. For a 24-year-old guy to openly be Christian before this happens, right? Because when you looked him up, you could find evidence that this guy was already an outspoken Christian. So that's a big deal. That's courage.
Right.
Yeah.
Just look at asking you. I mean, you've been in an NFL locker room. I mean, it's been a few years.
Couple, yeah.
But how big of a shift is something like this in a locker room?
I mean, taking Jesus out of it, even, that would just be a crushing blow, and like the morale. I mean, these are your teammates, and at least during the time that you're together as teammates, like, you look at each other as family,
right?
Especially to a certain degree. But I mean, if you're talking about, is there God in the locker room? God's there, but is he the one that's talking most of the time? No.
No.
No, he's not. I mean, it's more about money, girls, drugs,
Right.
sex, and rock and roll. I mean, it's everything you think you've seen on TV, it happens.
Everything I see in a movie, like North Dallas 40, or whatever. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, how inspiring. I mean, after you get past the sting of the tragedy, the inspiration of it, sometimes we need to be shaken up. And I just think of 9/11 and just how all of a sudden, for about a year or two, our country was totally on the same page.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And it seems like the sports world anyway, and those people that heard about it that weren't in the sports world, were on the same page for about a week. The last 5 or 10 minutes or so, what just takeaways from this and moving forward? What's would be on your heart or on your mind to communicate? A lesson you can learn with your kid while you're watching a game, or your family, or what do we take away, that we walk away to be grow a little bit deeper in our knowledge of who Christ is in us as a result of this?
Keep the momentum going. If this is something in your heart that you're really seeking for, keep the momentum going and really seek after Christ. The word says, seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. Keep that momentum going. Don't let it be your pocket God. Don't take him out when something like this happens, and then put him back afterwards.
Right.
Keep the momentum going.
Yeah. Love it.
Amen.
Love it. I love your pocket God analogy whenever you bring it up. And this is the right time. It's like oh my gosh, the guy went down. Let me pull this out of my pocket real quick.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Let me join in.
Let me join in. Yeah.
But what you do next, do you accept Christ as your Savior and you move on, and then you start to let Him evolve and change? And again, we talk about it all the time. The day you accept Christ is not the day you become pure, clean, and forgiven. You've sowed these seeds for years. You got to clean up your field.
Right.
But the reality is, or are you going to not and just look at this and say, "Oh, the next time I need Him, I'll try."
Right.
And all I could think about when as you two were talking was the Bugs Bunny cartoons. When he jumps out of the airplane, he realizes he doesn't have a parachute.
On.
But the problem is when you jump out of a plane, you can't ask for the parachute after you're out of the plane, right? Well, death's going to come upon us pretty quickly at some point.
Whoa.
And you don't want to be looking for that parachute. You better ask for it before you jump out of that plane.
Right.
So it's it's important that people see the message and they decide what they're going to do next. And I think they all have an opportunity to accept
Right.
Christ as their Savior. They can do it right now listening to this podcast.
Right.
And then reach out and call us. And it's not hard. It literally it's a mindset. I'm not even going to tell you what to say. You just got to think it.
Just
It's
think
that
it,
simple.
believe it, and if there's something or you have a question about what all went down and the peace that so many feel because of Christ in us, man, you reach out. Brother reached out yesterday, and we hopefully he's listening in and he knows that we're talking about him. But you're right, it's there. God will if God has stirred it in you as a result of Damar Hamlin or any other event, if something's been stirred in you because of that, pay attention to it. Don't push it off. We know who's doing that, and it's beyond you, and you can't comprehend it just on your own. And so reach out, ask for clarity. Let's figure this out so you can be impacted and see the light as well. So there's somebody telling us it's time to leave.
That's why I'm old. Take your medicine.
Take your medicine now. All right. Well, guys, this has been an amazing convo. It's great to be back after we had to take a week off, unfortunately, just for some different reasons. But as our new season begins with Cussin Christians, we also want to encourage you to listen to the Grace for Man podcast. Couple of concurring topics that are happening kind of between them right now, but at the same time, little bit different look, and we hope you listen and enjoy, and you just take a golden nugget or two, and we always want to hear from you. You can email us at impactministries.org. Go to the website and click on the email. It's mpactministries.org. We've got a cool men's breakfast coming up at the end of January 28th. By the time y'all hear this, it's going to be a few days away, but if you are in Brevard County, Florida, stop by Church of Viera, 7 a.m., free breakfast, and an amazing discussion on who we are and how we think. A lot of things we talk about right now on this podcast we're going to be addressing. And it's going to be a record turnout, it looks like, from the registrations that are coming in. So we'll have a great weekend. We're going to be praying for you as you're traveling, and been praying for you as you're going to celebrate your father and his life.
Yes.
Back in Tulsa.
Yep. See a lot of friends and family.
Yeah.
My dad was a great man. He loved the Lord and never saw his faith waver. And he was as steady and as consistent as anybody I've ever known. So it'll be awesome to commemorate that and honor the Lord and what he did through my dad's life and how he affected us.
Yeah.
So
Look what he produced, bro.
He produced that right there.
Amazing guy.
Coolest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
And you going to be playing anything?
no. Yeah, we've got some pre-recorded
Gotcha.
things, some music that we'll have there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. Well, and praying for you and your health. You're
Thank
getting.
you.
We're gonna get your ticker squared away, and you got a lot more things to do, my friend. And I need you here to do them with you. So we're gonna do that, and your family continues to inspire me with your kids and their sayings. The beautiful morning thing the other day was
good. That was
fantastic,
awesome.
and we're just so blessed in so many ways, and God winks at us so much between each other and the people we come in contact with. And if you want to know more about the light that shines through you, check us out on our website, all of our social media pages, and as we explore and discover grace and who Christ says we truly are as his children, and we just try to do it one man at a time. So we are going to sign out. We're going to catch you sometime next week on the flip side with something amazing from the four of us, because we are brilliant.
Brilliant.
We are brilliant. So with that said, I'm Trey.
I'm Michael.
I'm Brad.
I'm Jeremy.
We are the
Cussin Christians.
Y'all be good. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.
Ready for some Jesus? I can see Pastor doing that on the stage. Is that Hank Williams Jr.?
Hank Williams.
Yeah.
They took him off the Monday Night Football and gave us Faith Hill and then Carrie Underwood or something. So I like the Hank Williams better.
Yeah.
It's the original.
Got me more fired up.
Yep.